not just ourselves, but others around us.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Johnny Mann's from
Somebody tell Bob it's time to ring the bell. He's trying to get his nerve up, apparently.
Got a nice ceiling shot there. Is that in the, in the, must be in the meeting room, I guess, huh? Or are we all?
Johnny Mann's up. iPhone left.
There he is.
Welcome, Charlie. There we go.
At the prompting of past District Governor Tim Mannix, let us begin the meeting. Good afternoon, Cary Rotary Club. Welcome to our latest meeting of the friendliest club in District 7710. Can I please call on Mr. John Hatcher to lead us in the prayer and the pledge, please?
God, yes, please. Father, my God, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for this place. We especially thank you, Lord, for the Rotary, what it means to each of us. We pray for guidance. What we do will be pleasing to you, not only here, but Rotary around the world. Food, Lord, mercy and strengthen us so we can serve you better in all that we do. In order to pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America. In lieu of a choir, let us call for blessing America. Mr. Ben Shiver, can I ask you to please introduce our guests and visiting Rotarians today?
I'll be glad to, President Bob. Thank you very much. We have two visitors today. I'd like to call on John Hatcher to introduce his guests first.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're real glad today to have here with us again, Tim Duffy, who moved to Cary probably about a year ago off to Texas. And that first school here in Raleigh, NC State. He's a Presbyterian, got at least 3 children, twice deceased. We're real glad he lives in Glen Air now. And my friend is hopefully a Rotary. He was in Rotary in Texas for what, 30 years? 35 years. So he's been on Texas. I'm glad Tim Duck is with us today.
Bill Patrick has with her today, Matthew Catsaleras, who's the Career Development Coordinator at Remote Time.
Welcome, Matt. Thank you, Ben. All right, it's great to have everybody and some new visitors with us and some old friends, soon to be colleague, Tim. So thanks once again for joining us. And we'll look forward to seeing you again too. All right. I've gotten feedback, and it's true, that miracle moments have gotten short shrift in our recent meetings. So I want to make sure that before I go any further, I ask, does anybody have a miracle moment to share? Mr. Neil Lagarde.
Last week, as y'all probably do, I celebrated. Best part of my birthday was I got to watch my sister-in-law ring the bell after her final chemo treatment. So I have a
Congratulations to she and you. Mr. Fletcher.
I'm wearing this ball cap for a couple of reasons. One is I like NC State. The second one is I have these fishing passes on the back of it. My wife and I took our oldest two grandchildren, 8 and 10, to the beach. The young man had gone fishing with his father in a pond, bobber, worm, etc. He'd never been fishing in the ocean. We went to the Bogue Inlet Fishing Pier. He was catching 2 fish at a time. Thank you, God. And the next morning he said, Papa, can we go fishing again? So that's the second one on here. That's the important one. So that's a miracle moment.
Now that's a fish story I can relate to. Any others in the room? Anyone online have a miracle moment they'd like to share? Wave if you have a miracle moment. All right. Well, thank you. The only brief club announcement I have at the moment is a reminder. Thank you to several of you that have dropped off bedding and cookware for our efforts to support refugee relief. We'll continue that collection through the month of October. If you see me or leave material here, we'll collect it all together and get it dropped off together. I know several of you have done that already. David Coulter shared with me an absolutely fantastic idea, which was if you'd like to participate and you're inclined to make a purchase rather than a donation out of your pantry, Dorcas Ministries has a lot of that sort of material on sale, so we can support an important partner either by buying a gift certificate and making that purchase, or if we're going to go buy it, visit Dorcas. And I'm sure, Howard, you'd be happy to sell some of that material.
Yes, sir. And in addition to that, we're also kind of letting this stuff in house. In the weekend, I was kind of waiting till the end of this month. And we will bring it here, we'll take it back and take it down.
Fantastic. They used to call that layaway. That's those of us of a certain age remember layaway. So thank you, Howard, for both of those services. All right, any other announcements for today? In that case, let's get right to a great program that we have today in our recognition and celebration of World Polio Day, which will actually be at the end of the week. We have a special speaker. But before we get to the speaker, I want to recognize and ask Mary Cam if she'll handle the introductions as well as some announcements. So hang on one second, Mary. Go ahead, Mary.
All right, can you hear me? Yes? Okay, great. I am excited that October 24th is coming up soon, and that is World Polio Day, or excuse me, World Polio Day. And in celebration of that, we have a great speaker today. I will introduce him shortly, but I also want to give you an update. We have collected in pledges and actual checks and pledges that will be from now through June, a total of $1,550 from Rotarians. And I know there's more that's coming in, but I want to recognize and thank the Rotarians that we have heard from with their pledges and their checks. And with that, we were able to receive the $1,000 from the polio challenge that the Rotary Club, our Rotary Club, was doing. So we have at present $2,550 that by the end of June will be in the Polio Plus campaign from our Rotary Club and our members. So I want to congratulate everybody on that. Well done. And I also want to let you know that you have cards on the table. They're just a quarter sheet of paper. And it tells you on there that we're collecting for polio, and there are options for you to check whether you want to get a check or of $100, $120, $10 a month, Rotary Direct. So once I get that information today from Bob later after the meeting, I'll be contacting you, and we'll go ahead and make sure that everything is online for you to be able to help us with that. And so with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Randy Lickey, who is a member of the Rotary Club of Capital City. He first joined Rotary in 1990 in the Richmond, Virginia area, and served in District 7600, which covered Central and Southeastern Virginia, and served as their district governor in Rotary year 2001-2002. Randy and his wife, Chris, are major donors and bequest society members to the Rotary Foundation. He received the citation of meritorious service in recognition of the work that he has done in support of the Rotary Foundation. Randy has served in numerous positions at the club, district, zone levels, and currently serves in our district as a Polio Plus chair. In 2019 and 2020, Randy led teams of Rotarians on trips, on trips to Pakistan to participate in polio national immunization days and activities, and to support water and sanitation projects in cities in Karachi and Lahore, Pakistan. Randy retired in 2017 after practicing law for 36 years as a partner in the law firm of Williams Mullins. And this is a law firm that has over 200 lawyers in it, attorneys in it, and has offices in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. During his years with the firm, he served on the firm's board of directors and was chair of the firm's corporate practice section. He now serves on the board of directors of the Sunrock Group, a privately held construction material suppliers of aggregates, hot mix asphalt, and ready mix concrete materials. Randy and Chris live in Raleigh, where Randy has been active in numerous community and civic organizations, including on the board of directors and executive committee for the Greater Raleigh Chamber of Commerce, on the steering committee of the Regional Transportation Alliance, and he was a North Carolina governor's appointee on an interstate high-speed rail commission focused on how to improve rail service along the southeastern corridor. Please give a warm Cary Rotary welcome to our speaker, past District Governor and District 7710 Polio District Chair, Randy Lickey.
Can bring up my presentation. Feedback.
Our president does everything. Maybe.
He was doing that.
Yes, somebody said that.
Okay, good. Good afternoon. There's a lot of pressure on my presentation here. Usually I make a bunch of notes and then I ignore what I've written. And I tend to walk around, but I'm told I need to stay in front of the camera. When y'all get tired of hearing me, just let me know and I'll stop. For over, as many of you know, for over 35 years, Rotary has been engaged in our #1 international goal, which is to eradicate polio from the face of the earth. I always think it's helpful to review our history a bit. Many of you may remember it, but some of you won't. We really began our efforts to eradicate polio back in the 70s, in the late 70s, when we used what was at that time known as a Rotary Foundation 3H grant, Health, Hunger, and Humanities grant, to immunize 6 million children in the Philippines. There's been a polio outbreak there, and the Rotarians in the Philippines wanted to see what they could do to advance the efforts of ridding the country of the Philippines of polio. And Rotary Foundation issued this grant, and we succeeded. We immunized 6 million children and stamped out polio in the Philippines. So on the heels of that, our bright leaders at Rotary said, well, heck, we can get rid of it in the Philippines. Why don't we just do it in the world? And we'll do it in our spare time. And we think that it'll take $120 million. So let's, in 1985, we set about to raise $120 million over a 3-year time frame, because we believe that would be enough to get rid of this disease. And at that time, we went to the World Health Organization and said, hey, how about y'all joining in with us on this mission to eradicate polio? And they said, you guys are crazy. Rotary's never done anything on this scale, this scope. We don't believe you can do it. We're not sure it can be done. Well, you know, we weren't deterred. So we went forward with our fundraising campaign. And at the Rotary International Convention in 1988 in Philadelphia, we announced that we had raised not 120 million, but $247 million. At which time WHO and UNICEF came and said, hey, you guys may be crazy, but you got money. So at that time, we formed what is called the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. And the founding partners were Rotary, UNICEF, WHO, and CDC. And that is the organization through which we carry out our efforts to eradicate polio. More recently, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation joined, and most recently, Gavi, which is the Vaccine Alliance, joined. You can see that over time, we've spent a lot of money and we've immunized. These numbers are out of date. We're well over 3 billion children that have been vaccinated. So this is what the world looked like in 1988 when we started the GPEI. We benchmark everything against 1988. And polio was still endemic in 125 countries, and we were encountering 350,000 cases of polio a year. In the last 12 months, I'm not going to try to go through these numbers, but this shows you where cases have been that are either caused by the wild polio virus, and those are only in 2 countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan, or what we call circulating vaccine-derived cases. It is impossible to do what we do in the US, which is use the injectable form of vaccine in many countries. And when I go to Pakistan and you see the pictures, we're giving the liquid drops, the vaccine in oral form around the world, because you cannot practically, in many of these areas, get out and have people that are trained and can do injections give the vaccines. The issue is that while the injectable vaccine has a dead virus in it, so it cannot cause polio at all, the oral vaccine is an attenuated live virus. So in rare instances over some number of years, it can remutate and actually cause, in infinitesimal number of cases, but can cause polio. So we are fighting not just in Afghanistan and Pakistan, the wild virus. We also go back into countries that have cases caused by the vaccines we're giving. But those are countries where the vaccination rates may be low, populations are vulnerable, so you can see a few cases. Where are we today? I mentioned in 1988, there were 350,000 cases in 125 countries, and today we're down to 2 countries, and in each of those countries, year to date, 2021, we've had 1 case, and those cases were reported in January. So we are now nearly 9 months out of not having a reported case of polio anywhere in the world caused by the wild virus. We have 345 cases that have been caused by what's called a circulating vaccine. Those numbers are still, the wild virus transmission is way down. The circulating vaccine-derived cases are going down. And part of the reason for that is we now have what is called a new novel vaccine that is being rolled out first under an emergency use program that is much more stable. And I can't say it's impossible that it won't cause a case anywhere, but it is much, much less likely. So this is exciting news for all of us as Rotarians and anyone that's been following this for a while. This is a real turning point in our fight. So I always say, what does your workplace look like? These are pictures I snapped, one through the windshield of a van that was taking our most recent team that I took to Pakistan. This is in the outskirts of Karachi. The other is, you can see past District Governor Shafi's back and past District Governor Donna Pefley's head there, but that was in the neighborhood that we were in, again, on the outskirts of Karachi in 2019, where we were going with health workers to do door-to-door immunizations. You know, I could dig up pictures that would look far worse than this, but you know, this is challenging environments that you have to go into if your goal is to reach every last child and immunize them. And these are our heroes, truly. The top left picture of the young women there, that we took again one of the health centers in Karachi. Most of the door-to-door immunizations are carried out by young women who live in and around the communities in which those immunizations are being done. They're the ones who, when you knock on the door, it's generally a woman, a mother, that answers. A man cannot enter a home in a Muslim country unless he is invited in by the male of the house. Women can enter, and women in the community can build trust with those mothers so that they will allow their children to be immunized. The pictures you see on the top, and then the lower left, at the bus stations and train stations, in addition to going, National Immunization Day activities or sub-national immunization activities are focused. There are only 4 what we call NIDs generally in the country, 4 a year. That's when you have a blitz, you go out and you do the door-to-door immunizations across the country. In intervening times, you really go after hot spots. But that's when you're banging on doors, and it's usually an intense week or so. The health workers then follow up throughout the year, but the blitz occurs in very short time frames. At train stations and what they call permanent transit posts, which are set up on the major highways in Pakistan, and every bus is stopped, and health workers board those buses. They board the rail cars, they work the rail platforms to find children in a very transient society that have not been immunized, and you immunize them there. This happens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Those health workers are out there at all hours, in all weathers, doing that, carrying out our work. The last 2 pictures I stole from the internet just to demonstrate. There are health workers out there that go through extremes to reach a child or children. These people work for very low pay, generally speaking, $2 or less a day. We've had a number killed. When I was in Pakistan last, in the border region, which we don't go anywhere near, 2 health workers were killed in a drive-by gun, this motorcycle go by, and they shot the health workers because they want to disrupt that. In Afghanistan recently, 8 health workers were killed, even since the Taliban has taken over, because ISIS is trying to disrupt the Taliban. Bizarre. So as I say, you go door to door. These are just some pictures. I will point out in the upper left, there's a picture, and you probably can't read it, but it says Rotary Resource Center. Well, we've created a lot of infrastructure over 35 plus years. There are hundreds of laboratories set up around the world now that Rotary and its partners have set up, because we have to monitor whether polio exists somewhere. And the way we do that, I laughed when the news reports came out in the COVID-19 outbreak here. Oh, we're testing the wastewater from college dormitories. We've been testing wastewater in some of the most indescribable communities in the world for 30 years, because that's how you know whether polio exists there. You test the wastewater. If you find the virus present there, you know it's in the community somewhere. You may not have a reported case, but you know the virus is circulating there. Well, separate, we've created in Pakistan and especially in there are efforts in Afghanistan, these health centers, so that the health workers have a safe place to come back to at the day, or have a bathroom, or go to lunch. Plus, what we hear, you think we're tired of fundraising and talking about polio? I can tell you that the families in these communities are tired of having people knock on their door saying, can we vaccinate your child again for polio? And they look at us and they say, great, yes, but we don't have clean water. There are tons of other diseases. We have the healthcare issues. They're tired of this. Well, if we create a center where doctors can come in, and not just we base our polio efforts, but they can have healthcare available in these at-risk communities, all of a sudden they see Rotary's doing a lot more, and they're much more likely to cooperate with us and allow their children to be vaccinated. Again, these what we call PTPs, were permanent transit posts on the highways and railways. These are the health workers. That upper left shows what you would see as a shipping container, and it's exactly what it is. It's been retrofitted with a couple of windows. That's where the health workers get to base out of on the highways in Karachi, which can reach 120 degrees during the day at certain times of year. That's the only shelter they have. And because we have to keep the polio vaccine cold from the time it's manufactured to the time it's given in drops to a child, they have in that one a solar powered refrigerator to keep the vaccine cold until we can get it on the buses and administer it to the children. So some breaking news, which is very encouraging. Actually, this is 2 days old. WHO and UNICEF announced that the Taliban leadership has now agreed to allow for the first time in 3+ years door-to-door vaccination efforts in Afghanistan. If you're not doing door-to-door vaccination efforts, you're not going to be able to reach all of the children. In Pakistan, as an example, during the NID periods, door-to-door, you try to reach 50 million children in a week. In Afghanistan, that number is probably 10 million. But for the first time now, we're going to be able to get back out, not this week, but health workers working on our behalf to get out and go door to door. Taliban has agreed they will provide security. This will happen for the first time in November. A second date is being set for December, and it will be coordinated with the same date that the immunizations are going on in Pakistan. That's extremely important. We have to have coordinated efforts in those two countries. The border between them virtually is non-existent in places. It's very porous. People move back and forth all the time. There are at border crossings, there are stations set up, and hopefully we will begin to have much more confidence that we're capturing the vast majority of children in Afghanistan and getting immunized. The other exciting part is they have said they will allow women health workers to participate. And again, that's critical, because if you don't have women on the door-to-door, we're not going to get it done. So this is extremely encouraging news, and I'm hopeful that we will start to see a much higher vaccination rate in Afghanistan. I added this slide just to, again, how does polio transmit? Most of us don't remember. It's been gone in this country, but it's through poor sanitation. And in areas like this where you have open sewers running through the streets in some communities, and kids get out and play in the streets in the open sewers, and one kid touches another kid, and so you're transmitting polio. And if you have no clean water in these communities where you can wash, bathe in clean water, or have it to drink, it will just spread like wildfire. Plus, the vast majority of children under 5 die from waterborne illnesses around the world. That's the single biggest cause. So when we were in Pakistan, in Karachi, in one of these high-risk communities in 2019, we went and visited a water filtration facility that had been built through a partnership by the local Rotarians there. And we happened to have our shirts on that had the Rotary emblems, and we were virtually tackled by the local people of the community. They wanted to thank us for bringing clean water to their community. We had nothing to do with it other than we were Rotarians. Donna Peffley, past district governor, in that picture on the right, I said that was her new best friend. She would not let Donna go. She wanted to hug her. She wanted to, and it was. So when we came back, we had asked our friends in Pakistan, what does it cost to build one of those? And they said, $15,000. I said, great. We came back, raised $15,000, and sent it back over to our friends, and they leveraged that. And when I was there in 2020, we helped commemorate 3 that they had built using our monies, leveraged with some other funds they got. And yes, I hope it's safe to drink the water, because I did, and I'm still standing. But it is critical that we do these things. For polio, and for the other reasons that we want to improve people's lives around the world. So because of all of us, these children have hope that they will not have to suffer a crippling disease. And in countries like India and Pakistan, if a child is crippled with polio, their life is virtually non-existent. They are often shunned by families. It is a terrible condition. So what can you do? Obviously, do what you're doing. Give money. We've got to continue to support this effort. We've committed as Rotarians, as Rotary, to give $150 million a year to the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. We raise $50 million as Rotarians. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation matches those dollars 2 for 1. They put up $100 million to get to our 150. We are the largest non-governmental organization, both from a funding and certainly from a participation standpoint in this area. So that money that you talked about, $2,500 give or take, will be leveraged into $7,500. And I hope that you will raise more and it can be leveraged further. And yes, World Polio Day is on the 24th. That is the day around the world that we celebrate the efforts and focus on the efforts to make this disease the second after smallpox to be eradicated. And we are very close. I'm happy to take questions, but otherwise I'm done. Neil.
One question for you is that in thinking of what we're getting ready to do in November, obviously from our news sources, we hear of the fear that people in Afghanistan have for the Taliban, what they're, what they say they're going to do versus what they're really going to do. Do we see that having their security forces, obviously, it's the only way we can travel in that country, at this point, but does that also not possibly create a barrier for some of these people that would go into hiding to keep us from vaccinating them and possibly, in their mind, poisoning people now?
Yeah, well, let me put it this way. Number one, as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I've always had sort of we have to wait and see what the reality is on the ground. But I can tell you, whether we like it or not, the Taliban is in control of that country. That's a given. That ship sailed. They now, though, are realizing, holy cow, dog catches bus. They've now got to govern. And again, whether we like the way they govern or not is irrelevant at this point. If there's going to be security, it's going to be provided by the Taliban. The leadership there has met, again, with the leadership of WHO and UNICEF, who are our lead partners in this. They are the ones with the healthcare experts. They believe that they've got the commitment of the Taliban leadership. Again, get down to street level, who knows how all this translates. We also know that there are segments of ISIS and others who want nothing now more than to disrupt the Taliban's life. So are there security issues out there? Yes, but if anybody's going to provide the security to health workers, it's the Taliban. And the Taliban, I believe, desperately wants to show some successes, and they don't want failures. They are trying to now project an image to the world that we're not as bad as you think we are. Maybe, but if they will help us stamp out polio in Afghanistan, I'm in favor.
You had a picture there of all the little kids.
Yeah, purple pinkies.
You want to explain that?
Yeah, when you do the door-to-door immunization drives, the National Immunization Days, and you put the drops into their mouth, you then paint their pinky purple, and that's a dye that lasts for a couple of weeks. But that's simply a rudimentary way of knowing that that child has been immunized in that particular campaign. And so they all proudly were holding up their pinkies in that picture with our group to show that they're purple pinkies, they've been immunized.
Is the polio that's derived from the vaccine as serious as the wild
Yes.
polio?
Yeah, the vaccine, so again, understand, this does not happen immediately. It's not like I give drops and all of a sudden you come down with polio. It is, but what can happen is over, and it frequently could take a couple of years, but that virus can mutate to a point where it can be transmitted, and it's just as viral as a wild. Yes, but understand that happens. I actually did the math one time. It's like, God, I don't know how many decimal points out, but it's like 0.00008% of the times that it could mutate to that point. It's so, in comparison to the benefits that we're realizing, so yes, it's just a fear.
Time for one more question, if there is one. Ask James. Oh, here we go. Sorry.
We've been going for 36 years on Polio Plus. Do you have a goal or an idea as to when you're leaving?
Well, nobody in Rotary is ever gonna, nobody again will state a date. You know, we said at one time we were gonna have this done by our centennial, which would have been 2005. Obviously, we're here in 2021. We're gonna go until it's done. You know, we're at 2 cases. If, let's just, being wildly optimistic, I don't believe that we'll see the last case this year caused by the wild virus, but let's just say we did. You then have to go at least 3 years without a reported case before WHO will certify that you are free of the disease. So last year we declared the African continent as being free from polio, even though we know that there are vaccine-derived cases, because Nigeria, which was the last country, had gone 4 years at that time. So, you know, optimistically, if within the next 5 years, we see a certification that the world is free of polio, that will be, I think, an exciting accomplishment. I hope that we will. I've promised my friends in Pakistan I'll be back to celebrate with them, and I want to do that.
Randy, thank you very much. Jerry Miller, who you know,
Yes.
world famous artist. Right? This is his sketches.
Thank you very much.
And we have one more thing. If you want to step in front here.
All right. Step.
Randy, we want to we already gave away the end of the novelty, but we want to symbolically make the presentation of this check to you and the Rotary Foundation in favor of Polio Plus.
Perfect.
I want to thank our clubs for its generosity representing. I guess I need to, there's a lot of reasons why this check should merely be symbolic, but we'll update this to 2,550.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I thank you. I appreciate all you all.
And I guess I would just add, it's not too late, right?
Never
So
too late.
as Mary mentioned, I want to thank all of you. You know, we had 12 people sign up. Our goal was 10 for the $10 per month in our Polio Plus challenge. So thank you for all of that. Gained the match from the club of $1,000. But again, the sheets that are on your table, if you're moved to make a contribution to something that's really having an impact in the world, I encourage you to do that. So thank you, Randy. And
Thank you.
one of the reasons that we all should feel very proud to be a Rotarian among many of them. All right, some other business. I want to recognize that our President-elect Rod Brooks is celebrating a birthday today. I don't take any, don't draw any conclusions from the fact that he's not present on his very birthday. As I understand it, he's sailing the Intercontinental at the moment and having a great old time with some of his friends. So we'll wish him safety and a happy birthday when he gets back. Next week's program, I can't believe it, but I was walking through Lowe's the other day and I saw holiday decorations. So it's appropriate. Thank you to Paul Sossman for arranging that Troy Burton, who's with the Raleigh Parks and Recreation Department, will be with us to talk about holiday programs in Raleigh. Don't forget, we'll have more about bell ringing for Salvation Army, which is just around the corner as well. We can talk a little about that next week. Lunch will be served. In 2 weeks, Paul's also arranged to have Julie Henry, who is with AmeriHealth Caritas, which is a managed Medicaid provider in the area. So she'll share an update around that. She's Director of Communications there. I want to thank Tim and Matt for joining us today. Thank you so much for being with us. Please come back and join us at any time. Hopefully you've seen a glimpse. Tim, you've got 35 years worth of glimpsing into this, but Matt, hopefully you've seen a glimpse as well into what Rotary and our club is all about. So you're more than welcome to be back with us. So with that, I will ask if our friend Mary can lead us out on the four-way test. I'm going to ask you, Mary, to wait just 1 minute. Go ahead, Mary.
Four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Perfect. And I gained some intelligence in your technology. Yeah, great.
The presenter, Brian, I got this in probably state. 30 bucks.
Will it control as well as?
No, I don't think so. It just will advance. I mean, yeah.
Yep. Well, it works great. We're the first one to see it.
Bill, how are you? Well,
Bob?